So my name's Paul Mourani. I'm with RightScale. We basically provide a cloud management platform to allow you to do many things, but multi-cloud is one of them. But you know, a lot of news came out recently about all these APIs, what CloudStack's doing, what Eucalyptus is doing, and so forth. And so, you know, just want to talk a little bit about the concept of open, the way we view it, and really, at the end of the day, we believe everyone's really looking to just make their applications portable and make them move and run on multiple infrastructures, not just locked into one with a single API. So like someone mentioned earlier, you know, what is really, we talked a lot about open, this conference is OpenCloud, but what is really, you know, the open approach? And to build a cloud model, it's different pieces and different layers of the cake, from various hardware, virtualization, cloud orchestration engines, and various management layers. And really, I think all these elements are purchased for a specific reason. In the old school day, you would purchase a single stack from a single vendor, so VMware, the entire stack, right? You go to a hosting provider, they're the portal, they're everything. You know, cloud is really built for you to be flexible and get the pieces of the cake you want and make them interchangeable to a certain degree. You know, so what does open really mean? Does it mean open source? Not necessarily in our book. Does it mean it's mutually exclusive or all-inclusive? No. But open, really, for an enterprise, it's really about you know, having the ability to change course and direction. That's important. And these are, and why is that, right? Well, cloud is still relatively new. I still think we've got another year or so before we really see the hockey stick in this realm. And it's going to be highly competitive, and next year is going to be a completely different year from this year, just like last year was completely different. Avoiding vendor lock-in is a really big thing of why enterprises are looking into the cloud model and different things. And the need for infrastructure growth, right? It's like, I'm not going to keep building out data center after data center. I have users in dispersed geographic locations. I have different performance, different security. I'm not going to build one thing and load all my apps in it. You know, it's a cost thing. And if I stay with one vendor, I might lock myself to their cycles, right? And their development and their roadmap, not necessarily mine. So those are all reasons why. And how it works is really, you know, you want to get into a cloud so you don't rely on a single vendor, so you can actually roam. That's the true thing. The CTO of Amazon just came out last month saying, you know, a true good infrastructure as a service model should be one that does not lock its customers into the infrastructure. That person should be able to come and go as they please, and that is the definition of a good infrastructure, right? And so there's the thing. But for enterprises, you know, and I lead off with VMware and Amazon, they want to get there, but they're struggling a little bit over, okay, how do I do that? I have all this VM infrastructure there. You know, it's 90% market share in the audience. Amazon is definitely the de facto standard in the public cloud space today. So how can I use these existing infrastructures, but at the same time keep my eye on the road ahead as HP is launching their OpenStack cloud, Microsoft is coming out with their new infrastructure as a service model, IBM is dabbling in the space, and there's a slew, given the position we're in RightScale, we know of a slew of new companies all coming into the market in 2012. So it's going to be really exciting and dynamic marketplace, and the world of cloud is going to be far more developed in a relatively short period of time than probably most people anticipate and figure today. So if I ask, so how many of you here are married? If I ask you guys that. Okay. So then you guys have this concept of what lock-in is all about. Okay? So you all understand this, and I don't need to spend a lot of time on this slide. Now I'm happily married, so please don't say I brought that up with my wife. But you have VMware. It's all built from the ESX, right? And vSphere, vCenter, vCloud Director only works if you have an ESX hypervisor, and it just further locks you in as you go up this pyramid stack. AWS, although their CTO says we don't want to lock you in, and you have services like ELB, RDS, EMR, and other services, they're all meant to lock you into specific infrastructure, because you just cannot port that out and go use it somewhere else. So when you get locked in, you have no application portability. Your bargaining and price negotiation skills are diminished, right? So VMware is not going to be. They've been increasing their prices, and I'm even hearing they're going to bundle vCloud Director into their new license starting next year, which is going to raise the price even more. But I think cloud is pushing some pressure to maybe stop that. A little tip: all you have to do is tell your VMware rep that you're talking with CloudStack or OpenStack, and you immediately get another 25% off your ELA. So that's just a tip. So so that's a going. Your DR options are a little bit more difficult, and there's a whole slew of other things that basically limit your ability to be agile in your business needs as you run your business. So infrastructure as a service really got spun up because developers and people just got tired of waiting for internal IT to deliver resources for them. So it all started great. Amazon started 5 years ago, believe it or not. Okay, and people started swiping credit cards and using it. But very quickly, people were going, infrastructure as a service by itself is not really the solution that we're looking for, right? I mean, it had a basic APIs and a simple, it was initially a command line. Amazon UI is surprisingly starting to look more and more like RightScale. I don't know how that's happening, but the functionality is not there, but the look is similar. The visibility in organizations. Do you really want to be able? You want to control your users in an infrastructure. You don't want to have people go hog wild. You want to control what they can and can't do. You want to have visibility of your costs in real time. So that became difficult. Abstraction. Can you really do a true hybrid? That's kind of the holy grail that everyone's trying to get to. But when you're using different monitoring tools and systems and so forth, it makes it a little bit difficult for your NOC to keep that all together. And then automation. How do you manage your resources efficiently? Are you really utilizing your load in your private data center before you start bursting into public? Because you just took you're adding on an OpEx layer on top of a CapEx that you already spent and not really fully utilizing. So, and you're still having to manage with sysadmins because auto-scaling doesn't really function that well, and you got multiple tools and systems in place. So infrastructure really doesn't happen that. And then this is this is not legal approved in my company. This is a new deck, by the way, that I sent out. But and then so people started building out these APIs to better manage these infrastructures and make them a little deeper. But unless you go really deep with an API, you're only gonna get so far. And we think the resource behavior and the semantics of the resource are actually more important than that of the syntax of the API, because every cloud is built differently. And so just some examples of that is really look at your private cloud in Amazon. You have different instance types. So how do you navigate an application running on one versus another? Okay, or just even multiple public clouds. Storage performance. I'm running in Rackspace, running a cloud file storage system. In Amazon, I have EBS and S3. I have Cloud Connect. So there's ways around it. Okay, that you can do at an application level. It's not the smoothest, sweetest thing, but it kind of helps normalize things a little bit. And And cloud regions, Amazon with all 7, I think now, regions or 8 regions, each one is an independent cloud. Okay, you cannot take an image and run in one cloud and then just copy it and run it into another one. You're going to basically take and have to now have another AMI maintain that image, that stack, separate from the multiple region. And as you have 3-tier architectures growing and scaling, it's just multiple images that you're going to have to maintain and support. So it makes it a little difficult there. So you have, everyone's trying to talk the same language and get to the same goal, but we're all talking different languages. I kind of have a little, comic stream here of American versus British chips. We call chips potato chips, French fries. You have, I live on the first floor, which is floor 0 versus 1, 1 versus 2. Football, soccer versus gridiron. And, to pride our school system, I went to public school. In America, I carry a gun, and in England, I have a nice suit, and I went to Oxford. So, they're just different paradigms there. So I thought I'd try to throw some humor as I built this up last night. So, and then here with we've had a lot of great discussions, today about APIs. Eucalyptus was here, CloudStack was here, OpenStack talking, and all of them have different things. Eucalyptus is priding themselves on integration with Amazon. Okay, is Amazon really the best thing out there? And if I don't really like Amazon, why am I trying to emulate it? I don't get that. Okay, so. And then, Citrix CloudStack, they moved away from OpenStack and went with the Apache Foundation. They definitely have built out their own compute engine using Swift on the back end for storage. So that's all good. Yep.
How does Amazon overall compare from a price standpoint to other alternatives? Is it much higher? Is it much lower?
So you mean comparing public cloud pricing?
Amazon specifically, since that's the gold standard. Is it more expensive, or is there competition on price?
More expensive relative to what?
Alternatives.
Alternatives such as both other public clouds as well as private?
Cloud, yeah.
Oh, private clouds? So that's a good question. It's probably not a straight answer because it really depends on your application, right? So if you talk, for example, Zynga CIO Alan, he'll say his methodology is Amazon is a great 4-door sedan. Every family needs one. It's very flexible. It's dynamic. I can do multiple things with it. But in my private cloud, I like to take the Ferrari out for a spin on the weekends, right? I can't put my family and dog and groceries in it. I can barely fit my golf bag in there. But gosh, it's fast and it's great. So he can build his private cloud specific to his applications at a almost 4x more efficient manner than what he can run that same application in Amazon. So it's not just a straight apples to apples cost, it's how those applications are going to perform. Because he needs 3x the compute resources in Amazon versus his own private cloud. But most people will say if you utilize, I guess where our customers are telling us, if they're doing, depending on the application, anywhere from 50 to 70% utilization on that private cloud, they can definitely beat out an Amazon price over a 3-year amortization. That's just an initial guideline, but there is no firm rule.
That's a good rule.
I'm sorry?
No, that's a good rule.
Okay. Yep. So and then OpenStack. Obviously, the concerns are with going through all the different iterations and Keystone, Quantum, Nova, Swift. We're already seeing the initial public clouds coming out with OpenStack, all kind of running a slightly different API version of OpenStack. And CloudStack going to the Apache Foundation, as Matt was saying earlier, he's a little worried that they may fall into that same model, but the word, it's still out there. Okay, so these are all things that the API, to basically create that type of universal language to talk in multiple clouds is sometimes just not going to get you there all the way. So so the other thing is, to get application portability, the cloud model really turns this whole thing on its head, right? From the traditional way, if I look at you can't really read the lettering. Sorry about that. Can you see that? No. Okay. So what I have here. So what I have here is, this is the cloud model, the one you can read right here. Applications dictating to the infrastructure. That is really what cloud gives you. Okay. So you're scripting out your applications. Okay, and it's really a top-bottom methodology. This is where the brains are. And the applications are dictating the infrastructure, how it's going to operate, how it's going to function, right? HA, reliability, how I handle resource availability, and, costs, all those important elements, right? And these are, the applications, RightScale. You got your cloud orchestration engines, your hypervisors, and infrastructure. The other triangle, which you can't see, is top-bottom applications, vCloud Director, vSphere, ESX, and infrastructure. In that VM world, it's bottom-up. I'm building out my infrastructure. I'm turning all my vSphere dials on, all my ESX dials on. And then I'm saying, this is the fence that I've created for you, and now I'm going to load my applications. And my applications are only going to be able to perform based on those dials I turned on within that infrastructure. And it's fixed. Okay? Now I can do some, things. I can throw more resources out to an instance that's being overloaded. I can do vMotion and things like that. But everything is predicated on the ESX hypervisor. Without the ESX hypervisor, the rest of the stack is useless. So it is a bottom-up, infrastructure-focused methodology versus the application-focused methodology, which is what cloud is all about. It's allowing the applications to dictate all those superior functionalities on that resource. So it really allows you to abstract your application from the infrastructure it's going to run on and kind of help normalize its running depending on the resource pool that you want to run it on. So a little bit about RightScale and what it does. RightScale is literally a SaaS platform that allows you to manage your clouds. Okay, regardless if it's a public cloud, and here's just a handful of public clouds that you can utilize with RightScale, as well as your private clouds using Eucalyptus, CloudStack, or OpenStack. And with just one pane of glass and one platform, you can literally do your configuration framework, your auto scaling and deployments, and your governance controls, users access, privileges, and real-time cost financial analysis of what you're consuming in real time. So that's pretty powerful when you can now have multiple clouds all running with a single tool basically being that API translator, if you will, for you. And making that happen so you're not having to go through that barrage of trying to figure out how do I get compatibility between different infrastructures that I'm trying to utilize.
So in the same environment, you can mix and match?
Yes. Yes. So, so this is just kind of, just real quick, not going too deep, but where RightScale fits into the entire stack. So you can see the public cloud providers in your lower right-hand side, they've done all the work. They have an API being announced, RightScale plugs into that API, and now you can basically have the multi-cloud provisioning platform, the monitoring, alerting, scaling, configuration framework, and all the governance controls, all basically managing your applications onto that cloud. In your private cloud, okay, and as Matt was talking just earlier, on Thursday they're having a full day session in the city to talk about how to build your own private cloud. This is just how this is the stack, which at the beginning of the presentation I talked about is the pieces of the puzzle that keeps it open, that allows you to make this interchangeable, right? If one piece of this doesn't work for you somewhere down the road, or even up here, you can swap it out for another, and you're still off to the races. You haven't you haven't wasted a whole bunch of stuff. It's not like you bought an HP OpenView system, you know, and dumped 2-3 millions in professional services and then 18 months hawked it out the door because it just didn't do what the sales guy told you it was going to do. It's pretty much a pay as you go, use as you go, and walk away if it doesn't work, and you don't have to replace the entire stack. That's the benefit of all these layers. The great thing about RightScale being a SaaS platform versus a license that you have to download and operate and maintain within your own servers in your data center is if that data center fails and your engine that manages and runs all that stuff fails with it, okay, don't you want that management system to be living somewhere else outside of your data center? So if your applications fail in a catastrophic failure, you have the controls to go push it into another cloud? Yes, that makes total sense to me, I guess. Yes?
Isn't that the same value proposition offered by platform as a service SaaS offerings like Cloud Foundry, which does like multi-cloud?
Yes, I will touch on that a little bit later, if you don't mind. I'll get to that in just a sec. So how does RightScale really do this? Okay, and someone was talking about earlier, I think it was this gentleman back here, about these heavyweight OSs, you know, running, and how can I make it thinner? So we have a concept called server templates, which is really nothing more than a container that basically allows the right-link agent, which basically does all the API communication and direction, as well as receiving all the monitoring reports for auto-scaling and other elements. That's in that container. A base vanilla image. We do not build anything. We recommend you go vanilla, vanilla, vanilla. Okay? Ubuntu, CentOS, Red Hat Linux, Windows. You want to go bare minimum on your OS. And then when you define your server, whatever it's going to be, that's when you script it up. So RightScale is really just a framework. So if you're going to be scripting in Ruby, Python, PowerShell for Windows, incorporating, we're well integrated with Chef, Puppet Manifest, whatever you choose, you can use, and that will allow you to script out your boot, operational, and decommission scripts. So that is what's going to allow you to have that full automation and scalability upon provisioning. I won't go any deeper than that just because I'm trying to spin up. But this, along with the monitoring, is really what allows the multi-cloud. Because as you launch these servers in different clouds, every cloud is going to accept a different OS image. So within this container, I'm going to, depending on what all the clouds I'm going to want to launch that server in, I'm going to basically have a pointer telling me where I go and get that object OS image from when I launch in that cloud. If it's in Rackspace, Amazon, SoftLayer, DataPipe, you know, whatever it is. And so I build the template once and I can launch anywhere. Okay, it's not like VM images where every time I make a slight change, I'm now having to save the entire image over, and I have storage, you know, going out of control because every time I make a change to an image, I got another 10 gig file I'm saving. So that's kind of the difference there. But it's really tough for companies to go, wow, I have all these VMDK files and server images. God, to script all this stuff out, I'm almost starting over. So I will have to say, honestly, it's kind of a walk before you can run. But once you get over that initial hump, I mean, you're in the promised land. You are there, okay? And you can start running to your heart's content. But to help you along the way is we have all our ISVs and other partners, as well as RightScale Professional Services, basically publishing proven templates that will run in multi-cloud environments, okay? So from IBM to Microsoft, Tomcat, there's a whole bunch of them. Even some ancillary services like SOSTA for load balancing, AI Cache for CDN networks, Cloud Passage for daemon security uploads in your computer, Zen for PHP platforms. So the list goes on and on. And so just to give you an example, within the marketplace, you can have, here's a MySql 5.5, open source, database manager, highly utilized. And you'll see the supporting clouds I can launch this database manager 5.5 MySql in Amazon, LogicWorks, Rackspace, SoftWire, and either my private cloud in CloudStack or any service provider running a CloudStack cloud. And I can just basically click the import button, configure some security groups and some other things, and I've just launched myself a full MySQL database in a matter of minutes in the cloud of my choice. Now, IBM, just to show you, it's not just a single server, but this is a full Hadoop cluster. I can literally I can upload my data set into a cloud. Now, granted, some data sets are bigger than others, and there's different ways about doing it. But then I can literally import this cluster and literally launch it in a matter of minutes. And this one will work in Amazon Rackspace and a CloudStack cloud. Okay, anywhere I choose. And so IBM gives you a free license. In this case, I can basically run 25 instances free of charge, no license. Anything above 25, then I have to start paying the IBM license. But for the alternative of a CMO of a company to say, hey, I need 150 to 200,000 to build a Hadoop cluster in our data center so I can run this analytics, versus, okay, I can go make a few clicks, upload a bunch of data, and run it. I'm done. So far different, and especially if I'm just playing with Hadoop and trying to understand if I want to do this more full time. So getting to the question about the Paas model, okay? So RightScale is a pretty entrenched tool. It can do a lot of things. You can define instance sizes and things like that. You can get pretty granular, okay? And we believe in infrastructure as a service, most customers are going to prefer to choose the instance size of the applications that they're going to run on, and furthermore define the sequence of how that application is going to scale in a particular cloud, okay? So granted, you have to get into I'm not showing a demo today, but that granular controls in RightScale. But for some people, they just want to abstract that to a particular dev group or user group within the organization. So in addition to the back-end API that we have that talks to all the clouds, private and public, we also have a front-end API. And to give a little plug for my buddy who works at ClearScale, he's an ex-RightScale employee. This is for one customer of mine. He basically built this front-end API using a Python language. Most people do it in Ruby Gem, but you can do it in whatever you want. And he basically has a way that a developer can come in here, just choose any deployment set he wants, click it, launch it. It goes over pending approver, so it goes to his or her manager. Manager sees it in the queue, saying I have a request to launch a deployment. The manager sees it, approves it, clicks approve. It goes back into the developer's bucket. He sees it's back, and then he clicks, and then that stack will launch. And that person does not see RightScale at all. All he's seeing is, these are my choices. I'm going to click on it, and I'm done. And the RightScale engine behind the scene, whoever is in charge of that, basically can instruct what are the size instances, what are the rules for scaling, and actually what cloud it's going to run on. And this person has no choice. All he cares about, or she cares about, is I'm going to have my application up and running and I can start using it. So RightScale can give you that full granular infrastructure as a service model, as well as building out a front-end GUI to do whatever you want on the front end.
Who dictates those policies?
And abstract that. What's that?
Who dictates those policies?
Whoever is the controller, whoever's the sysadmin in charge of managing those rules in the company.
Okay. Who's not
Okay. So in the end, I'll leave you the global viewpoint. So with all these APIs out there and different orchestration engines and different manuals, with RightScale sitting on top of it, abstracting the application from that infrastructure and API, okay, all these dots right now, today, using RightScale, you can launch in public and private clouds your application in any one of these locations across the globe today. fairly seamlessly for the most part. There are some tweaks you have to do depending on certain clouds. There is some changes, but you can literally abstract your application to any one of these facilities in the world today. There is no service provider on the planet that will allow you to run your applications with this geographic diversity and proximity anywhere, even close. So it's pretty powerful. And we're going to be, RightScale will probably be adding about another 10 public clouds this year alone to the orchestration. So you can see this is just, so instead of trying to get compatibility with APIs, and I got this cloud here and this cloud here, you have one cloud with many resource pools. And you basically dictate how you want it and where you want it to run. And that's about it. And if you have any questions, I'll be around here probably for another half hour or so. And I'm just Paul at RightScale.com. And thank you very much for your time.